This is pretty basic stuff, right? Um, when you occupy a no time zone, when you're a small child in the 1950s, it makes it self evident, at least for me, being what I am in energy, which is a one, a mated chip, a single pole, which is a polarity integrator, right? Um, what it means is you already know their future, and the way that I'm trying to share how this is translated, how I translated it, is what a corporation is. A corporation is, by definition, by their own laws, a parasite. Okay, so a parasite needs to have a source of energy in order to keep consuming what it's aware of in energy, which is us, as a source of energy. So you realize that if you're the one, you're the law of one with a single point from which it all comes, kicking out photons that go on forever, kicking out electrons, then you know that as being one, you're running an eternal love vibration, right? It's the center point of a sphere, which is the law of least effort, 0 ohms. Okay. So that means you already know their future. So what you're able to see is I was to see as a child because they compete against each other, because I could experience it through my own father. My father we were moving all the time because he was having to move all the time in order for what? Energy security. And that energy security is based on chasing electrons, which is electronic numbers. Okay. So my father was chasing a numbers game because of the companies that he was working for, paying him in numbers. So what happens is that they're competing against another, in this case, he was working in X projects, building propulsion systems for the NASA fake program. All their rocket stuff's all fake. You know what a window dresser is, right? This is what you see in the window, but what we're doing in the back room, wringing our hands, oh, you got no idea what we're doing. Okay. That's all your underground stuff. That's all your intergalactic alliances. Okay. Of beings that use technology transfer that I already covered, right? So you realize they're all about short game, which means they never think long term. Now you get into the difference between a second law nation, which is what the Roman Empire is, which is what the 13 colonies are. Okay? Now you get into 13 colonies that are negative. Then you get into 13 clans, or 13 Arcturian clan mother, Karen Luke MacDonald, and the 12 tribes and original clans, right? 12 by 12, base 12, 1200 megahertz. And they are known as first law nations. First law star nations. First law is love is the law, which is the law of one, which is what love is. It's what I am. So you know it began with what love is. That's right, because love is protection. That's your shield. That's a volcanic shield. Spin, baby. So you're spinning at a high rate of speed, burning up all their glucose because we're not machines. Spirit integrated with the soul. That's right. So now you begin to understand the terrain that we're in. And they made a clone or a copy because they're copycats because they cannot create anything. They can only make copies of what we imagine and thus simulate. That's when it became pretty obvious that people were building their own prison matrix and getting us to do it. Okay, without being aware of it in the subconscious memory, or RAM, which is read active memory, which means you're recording magnetically what you're experiencing through the architecture, which is artificial, which is a simulator. So it's a time looper. Reverse flow. That's negative magnetic space. Okay. So if you want to go in towards the future, which is the positive side of a bloodline, which is positive magnetic polarity, to experience something positive next, which is a positive, powerful emotion, Then you realize if you're at zero because your water worlds are in balance, now we're experiencing we are the water, because you know that water is born, the living spirit in the water. So this is one of the reasons why I know growing up I spent so much time in the Pacific Ocean, because I love to be in salt water because we're saltwater biology. Being cleaned up all the time for the work that we do, for the places that we go, because I spent so much time in suburbs and cities, but I also spent as much time as I could either in the forest or the ocean. And I was blessed to experience Lemurian light when he mentioned on one of his videos, Huna flash, Huna flash, flash drive, flash, then ignition, four-way tetrahedron, 4 arrows on a compass, on a magnetic compass between North Pole, South Pole, West Gate, East Gate. Underworld, Eden. So that's the difference between the left-hand path, the right-hand path. The left-hand path is known as Satan, X-Men, Geek Squad. So I realized as a child that they're more interested in short-term gain, profit. How much can I make now? As fast as I possibly can, because they perceive the more that they keep accumulating in numbers as their source of electrical power. Okay. So I used to call them electron thieves, stealing electrons, stealing numbers. So they're energetic vampires. Yep. They got no love to give because they don't experience what love is in their mirror. So you realize what happens. They do everything they can to blow up their energy field. And what happens when that happens? Imposter spirits move in, body snatchers, and all the rest of it. So you realize if you're in the underworld, it's sort of like cognitive science. You know, when they used to say, if it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck, and you can look and examine its DNA and all the instruction sets represent the original template of a duck, because we got a record of the first duck, then we know it's a duck because we can translate and read the codes. So you're reading the mathematical codes in a mathematical field, which is based on the color codes of what you're experiencing in your projection system between what's out there and what's in you, which is what you are, which is the mirror. So mirrors are magnets. So you're magnetically recording what you're experiencing as you're experiencing it. So the higher rate of speed that you're going is burning off codes that do not serve you in your mirror. Right? So now we're getting into speed, or what we call track meets. Remember stars being the star of that track meet. And so they reinforce all the programming by endorphins. Sugar in particular, like candy, Halloween treats, trick or treat. Right? So you know that electrons produce an acid. So now we're in a pH 1. Then you jump up to pH 12. Right? What's 1 and 2? 3. Right? H2 plus 1 is 3. Now you have a 6 and a 9, but you can look at a 6 and turn it the other way and go, wow, that's a 9 too. Depends on which way it's facing, huh? When a 6 has got the round going that way to the right, and then you see the other 9 with the little ball with a little Q coming down this way, it's going that way. 6, 9, what's 6 and 9? 15. 1 and 5 is 6. 15D. So it's all about numbers, translating the numbers and the function of numbers and how those numbers relate to energy. So you can look simply at the math, and the math as translated is still minus/plus, because if you're in the negative column and you keep losing energy as a result of accumulating more energy off others, they're chasing the future. They're chasing the future. They can never catch up to zero. So they got to use technology. So that's their pathway, is known as the psycho-mental AI pathway. Because you know that a soul integrated in a living spirit in a living light mirror isn't going to be killing off everything in its own native world. So I realized as a child, for example, that's exactly what I was experiencing, why I was experiencing so much trauma that I became aware of through everything that was happening here. So you realize that you're in a vampiric energy zone. Now you get into the balance of nature. Now you get into the balance of the magnetosphere, right? And what happens when it's out of balance? Way out of balance. Way out of balance. Right? Then the water worlds are not in balance. The weather's not in balance. And that's why it was beautiful to experience this morning. A lady that I know, her name is Irene, and talk about, and I've mentioned this before in other videos that I've done, about spiritual rituals, which are really energy rituals, which means you can communicate with other spirits, particularly the great living spirit of Mother Earth. And when your spirit is connected with her spirit, and the spirits are all communicating with each other, which are the elementals, spirit of the wind, spirit of the fire, spirit in the water, spirit in all the elements, her spirit and your spirit, and when the spirits come together in a circle of light, and the power of that consciousness, which is the power of that love that is experienced through all the other spirits, calm skies, calm weather, that means that you're living in a thriving environment because all the spirits are experiencing what love is everywhere we go. That's paradise. That's Eden. That's our home world. That's the first law of Star Nation. First law of Star Nations. All living in peace with each other, with Mother Earth. Right? So you know that something must have happened to Eden. It fell into negative magnetic space. So that means we got to get it up, 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 get it up. Raise the vibration. Bring all the codes in. Remember who we are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The spirit will wake the soul up. And you remember, to thine own self be true. To thine own soul self be known. Which means you know your true self. What it is that you are in energy with your soul. Because your soul is running this operating system, the software, a communication platform. Right? The energy that you are, which is the consciousness that you are, that is running the communication system. So what are you communicating? How many frequencies do you have available to you in your radio set? So now you get into frequency modulation, which is the ability to clear the distortion of the waves. So you're running a clear channel signal. Now when you're running at the proper speed, you move through the gate so the spirit doesn't fall with the soul. That's Eastgate. So that's why things were happening incrementally. Have a great day. Have a beautiful weekend. Da 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 da.